Alabama, Auburn, Texas A&M all have new coaches calling the plays. We got to talk about what it means. It's Felix Sharp for CampusToCanton.com. If you like this video, please consider hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel so you never miss any of the content that we're dropping. And if you are stopping by the channel for the first time, you got to understand that we talk about college football here. Generally, from a college fantasy perspective, college fantasy is still in its early stages of becoming popular. But if you like conversations about position battles, your players, your school, then you should tune in to this channel. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now and drop a like on this video. I'm taking this content, today's video, from an article from Nate Marquise at CampusToCanton.com where he covers all of the offensive coaching changes in the SEC, and I just want to highlight a few of them at Texas A&M, Auburn, and Alabama. Let's start with Texas A&M. Of course, you got Jimbo Fisher there, his $90 million buyout. They bring in Bobby Petrino, who previously coached at University of Louisville, and Lamar Jackson had his great season. They bring in Bobby Petrino to breathe some life into this offense. This is an offense that has some talented pieces, whether you consider, Le'Veon Moss, Connor Wegman, Mushin Muhammad III, and of course, Evan Stewart is in my top 5-ish at wide receiver at CampusToCanton.com. Go ahead and check out those rankings at the site. But what is Bobby Petrino? What is it going to mean for Texas A&M's offense? He did have that dynamic season with Lamar Jackson. So can they use the dual threat ability of a quarterback? I don't know. It remains to be seen. Petrino, though, has consistently emphasized the tight end in his offenses. That's something that Jimbo Fisher has wanted to do too, in addition to establishing the run. So I think that we're going to see some productivity from the tight end position. We've heard good things about Donovan Green, sophomore Donovan Green there at Texas A&M. Could we see a jump from him this year? Max Wright is the other tight end there. So that's what I think that we're going to see. Now, it's interesting because Jimbo has generally wanted a bell cow, a running back, established the run, going back to his time at Florida State. I mean, think about the players that he had at Florida State. I'm thinking about, I'm forgetting the guy who was drafted by the Buffalo Bills. They had the big running back there who was with names are escaping me right now. I should have done a better job taking notes. Anyway, no 1,000-yard backs for Bobby Petrino at his last two recent stops, Missouri State and Louisville. So, what's going to be the offensive philosophy there? I think that they're going to try to establish someone because that's always been Jimbo's MO, even if it hasn't been Bobby Petrino's. Let's move on here to Auburn. Auburn bringing in Hugh Freeze, who, wherever he's gone, has been able to produce offense. Of course, Auburn moving away from Brian Harsin, which always felt like an odd fit. Brian Harsin, former quarterback at Boise State, never had experience recruiting in the SEC, playing in the SEC. And then when he got there, clashed with the media, the local media, almost immediately. You had, after his first year there, the mass exodus at transfer. I think they lost more than 18 players. Even Tank Bigsby had reportedly, for a day, was going to enter his name in the transfer portal before going back. I think that probably was not to his benefit to go back to Auburn. So Hugh Freeze comes from Liberty to Auburn here, and Auburn really had to think about adding a big name. Everyone thought that Lane Kiffin was going to be the hire there, but think about what's going to happen in the SEC with them adding Oklahoma and Texas. I mean, you got two big programs on there. You're going to fall behind if you don't have a big name at head coach, a name that's producing so that you can recruit. So Auburn really had to add a coaching hire and get rid of Harsin so that they can keep up in the SEC. So they add Hugh Freeze, Hugh Freeze has had success with quarterbacks. Chad Kelly, Malik Willis have all been elite fantasy producers under Hugh Freeze's tutelage. I think that we would continue to expect to see that, at least maybe after he's had 1 or 2 recruiting cycles there. We would kind of project Robbie Ashford to be the Oregon transfer to be the quarterback there. So could we see a bump in production from Robbie Ashford? I think, the Hugh Freeze, while he hasn't emphasized the running back position, that's probably going to be the strength of this offense. Jarquez Hunter, good physical between the tackles guy, but they also add Brian Batey. Brian Batey has been one of my favorite players in college football. If you haven't watched University of South Florida football, this is one of the more explosive, small running backs in the country. Absolutely lights out quickness. He transfers up to Auburn. I'm really interested to see what he adds to the backfield. And then you got Damari Alston, who's a sophomore, a second-year player, who's a bowling ball of sorts with very, very light feet. So Hugh Freeze has never had a 1,000-yard rusher. But I think that changes in 2023 because, he's going to be a smart guy. If it were me, Jarquez Hunter would be the focus of my offense while I still spread it out to keep the defense honest. That's Auburn. What are we going to get from Tommy Rees at Alabama? Tommy Rees, one of the younger offensive coordinators. I still remember Tommy Rees at Notre Dame. As a matter of fact, let me plug, I had Coach Chuck Martin, who's now the head coach at Miami of Ohio. He was the offensive coordinator. He was Tommy Rees's offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach when Notre Dame got whooped by Alabama in the national championship game. I will put that interview here in the description box in addition to a link to Nate's article. But what are we going to get from Tommy Rees? He's worked with dual threat quarterbacks, with pocket passers, of course, with Drew Pine last year. I don't know that we necessarily know what we're going to get from him. This is a guy who has established the run at Notre Dame. Kyron Williams, that offensive line, it kind of been the focus of that offense. Do we get to see that at Alabama, a team that's making a quarterback switch? It's either going to be Jalen Milroe or Ty Thompson. Ty Thompson, kind of a more chaotic play style similar to Johnny Manziel. I would love to see if it was not Ty Thompson, Ty Simpson. Come on, guys. Ty Simpson, the former 5-star quarterback who's in his second year, he has a play style similar to Johnny Manziel. So I'd really like to see, he's just a dynamic player. So is Jalen Milroe, but more in a straightforward, linear type. Reportedly, he's having an excellent camp. Could we even see both of them? But again, like Auburn, I think that we'll see the running game be a focus because both of those quarterbacks can run the ball. And you think about the backfield at Alabama. I love Justice Haynes. He's my number 1 running back in the freshman class. Go take a look at the rankings at campus2can.com. Of course, they still have Jace McClellan, who's now 2 years removed from the ACL injury. Roydell Williams is there. And then they brought in the freshman Richard Young. If it were me, again, I would make the running game the focus of this offense while we have a quarterback who's starting for a full season for the first time, whether it's Simpson or Jalen Milroe. Now, on the outside, you got Jermaine Burton. You got Kobe Prentice, who's probably going to be the slot wide receiver. Ja'Cory Brooks, I think, is going to be your X and your boundary. But it's that Jermaine Burton or Malik Benson. Jermaine Burton's kind of had his opportunity and, had one good game last year. Malik Benson is the player that they're really excited about. Could he be the flanker that stretches the field if you emphasize the running game, bring your safeties, bring your linebackers up to the line of scrimmage, and then get deep with a player like Malik Benson? I think that could be the option. I think that, potentially we see Jermaine Burton take a back seat to Malik Benson, even though hypothetically they provide the same skill set. Malik Benson, renowned for his speed, and the same was Jermaine Burton. He was the fastest man in, what was that, to the 2018, 2019, in the opening, he won the fastest man competition. So, but I think 2 of those spots are locked down between Prentice and Ja'Cory Brooks. You can catch the full article at campus2can.com on the SEC offensive coaching changes by Nate Marquise. All right, that's it for me. Peace.